How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks. We focus on one thing: always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about ChargePoint. They have earnings that's coming up on March the 2nd. Many people are asking me about the price action, and we also do know there's another charging company play that has earnings on Monday, which will have an impact on ChargePoint. We'll talk about it further in this video. I won't waste any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder or you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is the technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know what it looks like in the bearish case scenario and as well as in the bullish case scenario. And then we're going to go on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information. The reason why this is important because it does have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know the buying and the selling behavior on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis for ChargePoint. Let's see how it performed on Friday. So it ended up closing at $13.71, being up 0.51%. On the low, it tested $13.04, and then on the high, testing $13.75. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 6.511 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 8.952 million shares. So we did have below average volume on the day, but we still saw some strength in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, we can see from the RSI down below, it is at 47.16. And then when we take a look at our moving averages here on the chart, we are below the 200-day, the 100-day, the 50-day, and as well as the 21-day EMA. So since we are trading below all of our major moving averages, it's clear that ChargePoint is in a bear market. So as far as for the high that we saw on the Friday, it was right at 1375, and the 21-day EMA is right around 1388. So I want to see a move above 1388 going into Monday so we could start getting to around the $14 level. The resistance to look out for will be right here around 14.14, and if we get past it, then we can look forward to seeing a move to where we can get to around $14.57. And then upon passing this, I'd want to see us actually see if we can get past the 50-day right around $15.46. They do have earnings that's coming up on March the 2nd, so that is one thing to be very aware of. Now, if we end up having a pullback or we see some weakness, I'd want to see $13 actually hold up. If $13 can't hold up, then we could potentially go back here to around $12.55, and this is where you want to see some strength in the play. But for the most part, if you wanted to consolidate and stay between the range of 13 and as well as 15 going into earnings, that's not a bad look either, because if we do end up getting a beat, this is where ChargePoint could really start taking some serious moves and getting here to around 1650 and then seeing what it does further from there. So now let's go into the short interest information. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for ChargePoint. Scrolling down on the page, green rows indicate new positions while red rows indicate closed positions. So when we take a look at the recent filings for the 25th, we have Jet SX that purchased 5,450 shares. We also have a closed position here, and then we also have Buzz that purchased 55,870 shares. Going down even further, we're done for the 25th, but you can see for the 23rd, we have Cornerstone Advisories LLC that purchased 350 shares, and we also have FDRV that purchased 33,960 shares. And another thing that I want to bring to your attention as far as institutions loading up, you can see as far as February is concerned, we see institutions have been loading the boat in February. Now, when we take a look at the short interest, the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 54.78%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 1.12 million shares. Scrolling down further on the page, the short shares availability is at 3.1 million, updated just now, and then for the short borrow fee rate, it is at 0.57%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 24th, it is at 43.20, and then for the close of the 25th, fifth being at 54.78. So what this shows us right away, ChargePoint does have short squeeze potential. Now let's move on to the order flow distribution. Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for ChargePoint. So we see here on the inflow, it's at 11.30, and then on the outflow, it is at 9.89. So it was an inflow day. Taking a look at the breakdown, on the large, it was 0. On the medium, it was 5.73. And then on the small, it was 5.57. Taking a look at the outflow side, you can see on the large it was 0. On the medium, it was 5.22. And then on the small, it was 4.67. And keep in mind these numbers in the millions. I just want to make sure everyone's aware of that. Also, when we take a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you can see it was zeros down the board. Analyzing the numbers even further for the small scale orders, it tends to represent the retail side. We had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at what happened on the medium, we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at the large, it represents whales, institutions, or funds, you can see it was 0 on both sides. And then when we take a look at the turnover ratio, it was at 1.97%. Not too bad for a stock like ChargePoint. We do know there are many who are holding on to their positions, and as we get closer to earnings, there's going to be a lot more volatility ahead. But of course, as far as for Monday is concerned, if the markets are looking good, I can see ChargePoint making a quite substantial move, but I'll talk about it further in the final thoughts, so let's get into it right now. So for my final thoughts for ChargePoint, as far as for the price action, I think we should be able to get above $14. We do have Blink Charging that's going to be coming out with earnings on Monday, and if they end up doing well, of course many plays are going to follow along in sympathy, and ChargePoint will be one of them. So that's why I say $14 is very achievable. Going into earnings now, if we end up getting that earnings beat, then I can see the stock going to around $17. If we end up having a pullback inside of the market, or we have some weakness, I just want to see ChargePoint being able to hold up $13 going into earnings. And if the earnings don't turn out too well, then the stock could easily pull back into the single digits. So just be aware of those ranges, especially if you're going to be trading it. And if you are a long-term investor, just make sure you have high conviction before you buy the dip. Also, when we went on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownerships, we could see institutions have been loading up on shares. They love ChargePoint, so that is great for my long-term investors out there to know. And then when we took a look at the short interest information, of course it continues to have short squeeze potential. No surprises. This is a growth stock that isn't profitable as of yet. So considering the market trends we are seeing, especially since we're going into an environment where we're going to look forward to higher interest rates, stocks like ChargePoint are going to be looked at with a lot more scrutiny, and that sentiment is going to be negative. But at the same time, you have to understand these are the risks that we take when we're involved with these kind of plays. So continue to do your homework and as well as your due diligence, and make sure to keep an eye on earnings for Blink Charging. See what their guidance looks like, because this will have an impact on the whole EV charging sector. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll be talking real soon.